There's something deeply unsettling about silence in the cosmos. Out there, beyond the glow of our own galaxy, countless stars should be humming with the chatter of distant civilizations' radio waves crisscrossing the void, carrying messages, music, maybe even the echoes of ancient wars. But when we point our telescopes toward the heavens and listen, what we hear is nothing. A vast, impenetrable quiet that defies everything we know about the universe. It's as if someone or something has pressed mute on the entire cosmic conversation. What if that silence isn't an accident? What if it's a warning? Imagine for a moment that you're not alone in the dark. Imagine that every civilization out there has learned the same terrifying lesson. To survive, you must stay silent, hidden, because something far older, far more dangerous is listening. This isn't just science fiction, it's a theory that's gained traction among astronomers and physicists, a chilling explanation for why the universe feels so empty. They call it the Radio Silence Pact, an unspoken treaty between stars, a desperate agreement to vanish from the cosmic radar, because to be heard is to be hunted. Today, we're diving into one of space's greatest mysteries, the eerie absence of alien signals and the spine-tingling possibility that we're not just searching for life, we're hiding from it. Across galaxies, civilizations may have learned the hard way that broadcasting your existence is an invitation to disaster, so they've gone dark, leaving behind only whispers and static. But why? What could be out there, lurking in the blackness, that so terrifying entire worlds would rather disappear than risk attracting its attention? Strap in, because we're about to unravel a cosmic conspiracy that stretches across billions of years, and one that might just explain humanity's place in a universe that's far stranger and far more dangerous than we ever imagined. The Fermi Paradox asks one of the most haunting questions in astronomy. If the universe is so vast, so ancient, and so full of potential for life, why haven't we heard a single whisper from another civilization? Statistically, the numbers are overwhelming. With hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy alone, many hosting planets in the so-called Goldilocks zone where life could thrive, the cosmos should be teeming with voices. Yet when we scan the skies, all we find is static. This eerie contradiction isn't just a puzzle, it's a clue. One possibility is that intelligent life is incredibly rare, a cosmic fluke that happened only once. But another, far more chilling explanation is that advanced civilizations aren't missing their hiding. Think of it like this. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest at night, hearing rustling in the bushes. If every other animal falls dead silent, you'd start to wonder what predator is out there. The same logic might apply to the universe. If every civilization that reaches a certain level of technology suddenly stops broadcasting, stops announcing its presence, there's only one logical conclusion: they've learned it's safer to stay quiet. This idea transforms the Fermi Paradox from a question into a warning. The silence isn't proof that we're alone, it might be proof that we're not alone, and that whatever else is out there isn't friendly. Ancient predatory species could be drifting between the stars, listening for the faintest signals of new civilizations to exploit or erase. In that scenario, the smartest move any species could make is to disappear from the cosmic radar, to vanish into the background noise of the universe. It's not just a theory, it's a survival strategy. And if it's true, humanity's growing radio presence might be the equivalent of shouting into the dark, unaware of what's listening. If the universe is indeed a dark forest, as some theories suggest, then we might not be the hunters, we could be the prey. The dark forest hypothesis paints a picture of the cosmos as a place of constant danger, where every civilization stays hidden, afraid to reveal its location. Why? Because out there, among the stars, something far more advanced might be waiting. These cosmic predators wouldn't announce themselves with flashing lights or friendly greetings. They'd be silent, watching, listening for any sign of weakness. History gives us terrifying glimpses of how this could play out. When European explorers set sail across the oceans, they didn't always come in peace. Indigenous societies that welcomed them often faced subjugation, disease, or outright annihilation. Now imagine that scenario on a galactic scale. An advanced civilization detecting our radio signals, studying our planet from afar, and deciding we're either a threat to neutralize or a resource to exploit. This isn't just speculation. Some scientists argue that the absence of alien signals isn't a mystery, it's a survival tactic. Civilizations that broadcast too loudly might disappear, leaving behind only ruins and static. The ones that survive learn to whisper, to cloak their presence, to become invisible in the cosmic noise. If true, every mysterious silence in the universe isn't just absence, it's evidence of something far more sinister. And as humanity keeps sending out signals, we might be unknowingly ringing a dinner bell in the dark. Picture a civilization slightly older than ours, one that has just cracked interstellar communication. Filled with optimism, they broadcast their location, their culture, their achievements only to receive a reply they never expected, a reply that ends them. This isn't just the plot of a sci-fi horror story. It's a scenario some of the brightest minds have warned could be our reality. Stephen Hawking once cautioned that broadcasting our presence to the cosmos might be as reckless as the Aztecs sounding trumpets when Cortés arrived, a greeting met with conquest. History is littered with first contacts that went catastrophically wrong. When Europeans landed in the Americas, entire civilizations collapsed under the weight of disease and violence. Now imagine that same pattern, but on a cosmic scale. An advanced civilization detecting a young species' signals might not come with open arms. They might see us as competition, as resources, or worse, as pests to exterminate before we become a threat. Sci-fi has explored this nightmare before. In Independence Day, humanity's first real contact isn't with explorers or diplomats, but with invaders who see Earth as nothing more than fuel for their war machine. Even in Arrival, where communication seems peaceful, the shadow of misunderstanding looms large. But what if the truth is even darker? What if the silence we hear isn't just caution? It's the aftermath of civilizations that didn't hide in time. The universe is billions of years older than Earth. Plenty of species could have risen, broadcasted their existence, and been wiped out before we even existed. Their ruins wouldn't be visible from here. All we'd hear is the silence they left behind. That's the terrifying possibility behind the Radio Silence Pact. It's not just a theory, it's a gravestone. A warning carved into the static between the stars, telling every new civilization that learns to listen, stay quiet, or you won't survive long enough to regret it. Some scientists argue that if predatory civilizations exist, they wouldn't just hunt randomly. They'd wait for signals, proof that a species is advanced enough to be worth destroying, but not advanced enough to fight back. In that case, our radio broadcasts, our satellites, even our early attempts at interstellar messages might be the equivalent of lighting a bonfire in a forest full of wolves. The longer we keep transmitting, the higher the chance something out there finally turns its gaze our way. So what do we do? Do we silence ourselves, vanish into the cosmic background like every other civilization that might have learned this lesson the hard way? Or do we keep shouting into the dark, hoping that this time the answer won't be a death sentence? The scariest part isn't just the question, it's that we might not get a second chance to choose. The cosmos wasn't always this quiet. Billions of years ago, before Earth's continents had even taken shape, the universe might have hummed with countless voices. A chaotic symphony of civilizations exchanging knowledge, art, war. But somewhere along the way, everything changed. The chatter ceased, the transmissions faded, and the stars went silent. The turning point wasn't an accident. It was a decision, a pact. Picture this: deep in the void between galaxies, representatives of ancient empires converge in secret. No grand hall, no flashing lights, just stealth ships drifting in the darkness, their occupants wary of attracting attention. Among them, the crystalline architects of Andromeda, beings of living math who'd witnessed entire stars die. The rogue machine intelligences from the Orion Rift, born from a war so catastrophic they erased all records of their creators. Even the hive minds of Zeta Reticuli, who once sang their histories across radio waves until something answered back, each had their reasons for signing the silence. For the Andromedans, it was the ruins they'd found on the edge of their home galaxy, a graveyard of civilizations wiped out by something that left no trace. The machine empires, cold and pragmatic, calculated the odds. Any species advanced enough to detect their signals was also advanced enough to end them. And the hive minds, they'd heard the whispers first, distant screams in the static, abruptly cut short. The terms were simple: no more beacons, no more broadcasts. Any civilization foolish enough to break the pact would be abandoned to their fate, or worse, reported to whatever lurked in the dark. Enforcement wasn't necessary. The fear was enough. Over millennia, the pact became instinct. Newly spacefaring species would scan the skies, hear nothing, and assume they were alone, never realizing their silence was the only thing keeping them safe. But why would entire civilizations agree to vanish? Imagine discovering a predator in your own backyard, one that could hear every word you spoke, track every move you made. Now imagine that predator was older than your son, smarter than your entire species, and utterly indifferent to your existence unless provoked. The pact wasn't surrender. It was camouflage, a way to become just another whisper in the cosmic wind, too faint to notice, too quiet to hunt. Consider the Virene, a hypothetical race from a dying star system. They'd spent centuries broadcasting peace messages, hoping to unite the galaxy, until a single reply arrived. Not a greeting, not a warning, just coordinates. Their homeworld was scoured clean within a decade. The few survivors didn't even know what had attacked them, only that speaking up had doomed them. Stories like these became folklore among the Pact signatories. Cautionary tales passed down not in words but in the deliberate static between transmissions. The most chilling part, the Pact might still be active. Right now, as our signals leak into space, some distant outpost could be logging Earth's location, debating whether to add us to the list of species smart enough to hide or reckless enough to ignore the oldest rule in the universe: the quieter you are, the longer you survive. If intelligent civilizations are hiding, how exactly do they vanish from the cosmic stage? The methods might be more advanced and more terrifying than we ever imagined. Take the concept of Dyson spheres, massive megastructures built around stars to harness their energy. To us, they'd look like inexplicable gaps in the sky stars that simply vanish. But what if these aren't just power plants? What if they're cosmic cloaking devices designed to swallow a civilization's heat signatures, its radio waves, even its very light, leaving nothing behind but a void where a star should be? A species that mastered this wouldn't just be hiding, they'd be erasing themselves from the universe's ledger. Then there's quantum stealth, a theoretical technology that bends light around an object, rendering it completely invisible. On Earth, we're barely scratching the surface of this idea with metamaterials that trick radar. But an advanced civilization could scale this up, cloaking entire planets, even solar systems. Imagine looking at a neighboring star through a telescope and seeing nothing but empty space where a habitable world should be. That's not a glitch, that's a warning sign. But perhaps the most chilling method is signal camouflage. Instead of going silent, some civilizations might flood the cosmos with noise, fake pulsar signals, artificial cosmic background radiation, even echoes of long-dead stars. To anyone listening, their transmissions would blend seamlessly into the universe's natural soundtrack. Like a jungle creature mimicking the rustle of leaves, they'd become indistinguishable from the chaos around them. The truly unsettling part, these aren't just sci-fi fantasies. We've already found anomalies that fit the patterns. Stars like Tabby's star with its bizarre, irregular dimming that some scientists speculate could be caused by megastructures. Or the mysterious WOW signal, a powerful radio burst that appeared once in 1977 and never repeated, almost as if something out there accidentally leaked a message before hastily cutting transmission. But here's the real question. If these cloaking techniques exist, how many civilizations have we already missed? How many neighbors might be watching us right now, hidden behind veils of quantum trickery or drowned out by artificial static? The universe's silence isn't just eerie, it's a masterclass in deception. And if humanity keeps broadcasting, we might be the only ones foolish enough to stand in the open, unaware of the predators lurking just beyond the light. The silence between the stars might not just be eerie, it could be the smoking gun of a cosmic massacre. This brings us to the chilling intersection of the Radio Silence Pact and something called the Great Filter. The Great Filter theory suggests that at some point in a civilization's evolution, an inevitable catastrophe wipes them out before they can spread across the galaxy. The question is, where does the filter lie? Is it behind us, something we've already survived, like the emergence of life itself? Or is it ahead of us, lurking in our future, waiting to erase us the moment we reach a certain level of technological ambition? The Pact offers a terrifying possibility that the filter isn't a natural phenomenon but a deliberate act, a hunter. Think of it like a minefield. Most civilizations might step on the same fatal trigger, broadcasting their existence too loudly. The ones that survive aren't necessarily the smartest or most advanced, they're the ones who learn to walk quietly. From this angle, the Great Filter isn't just a random bottleneck in evolution. It's a trap deliberately maintained by whatever's out there, and the civilizations that make it through aren't the ones who conquer space, they're the ones who master the art of invisibility. There's precedent for this in Earth's own history. Take the nuclear bomb, a technology that could have been humanity's great filter. During the Cold War, we teetered on the edge of self-destruction, and only through sheer luck and frantic diplomacy did we avoid annihilation. Now imagine a universe where every civilization faces its own version of that moment, but the threat isn't themselves, it's something far older, far more patient, waiting for them to slip up. The Pact could be the galactic equivalent of nuclear disarmament, an agreement not to provoke the beast. But here's the twist. If the Great Filter is a predator, then silence isn't just survival, it's proof the predator exists. Every civilization that vanishes leaves behind a pattern, a trail of missing signals. The Pact isn't just a strategy, it's evidence. When we look up at the stars and hear nothing, we're not staring at an empty universe. We're staring at a battlefield littered with the ghosts of civilizations that didn't hide fast enough. So where does that leave us? Humanity's radio bubble, the signals we've been leaking into space for over a century, has already expanded over 100 light years. If something is out there, listening, hunting, our coordinates might already be on some interstellar watch list. The Great Filter could be closing in right now, drawn by our noise. And this is the real horror, it might have already arrived and we just don't know it yet. After all, the deadliest predators are the ones you never see coming. Humanity has never been good at staying quiet. While ancient civilizations might have gazed at the stars in silent reverence, we've spent the last century shouting into the void like reckless children daring the dark to answer back. The Arecibo message, beamed toward a distant star cluster in 1974, wasn't just a friendly hello, it was a cosmic flare gun, announcing our presence with the subtlety of a fireworks display. Packed with our DNA structure, a map of our solar system, even a crude sketch of a human figure, it was a postcard with our home address written in bold, universal ink. But here's the terrifying part, we've kept sending them. Decades later, projects like METI, messaging extraterrestrial intelligence, aren't just listening for signals. They're actively broadcasting, targeting nearby stars with mathematical greetings, musical compositions, even tweets from everyday people. It's as if we're standing alone in a pitch-black forest, blindfolded, singing at the top of our lungs while something out there sharpens its claws. The irony is jarring. At the very moment we're beginning to grasp the Radio Silence Pact's grim logic, we're also breaking it with cheerful abandon. Critics argue this isn't just naive, it's suicidal. Imagine a planet like ours, but a few thousand years older. They too once believed the universe was full of benevolent neighbors, eager to exchange knowledge. So they broadcasted just like us. Then one day their signal stopped, not because they chose silence, but because something followed their transmissions home. The lesson seems clear. Curiosity killed the civilization, yet proponents of METI counter with a defiant optimism. They claim hiding is pointless. If advanced predators exist, they've already detected Earth through our accidental radio leakage, our city lights, even the chemical traces in our atmosphere. In that case, why not reach out? Maybe the pact is a myth. Maybe the silence is just the universe's natural state. Or maybe, and this is the gamble, we'll find allies, not hunters. But history isn't kind to gambles like this. When the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the Americas, the Aztecs initially welcomed them, mistaking Cortés for a god. That misunderstanding cost millions their lives. On a cosmic scale, the stakes are incomprehensibly higher. A single misread signal, one mistranslated reply, could doom our entire species. The truth is, we're playing a game with rules we don't understand against players we can't see. Every message we send is a roll of the dice, not just for us, but for any civilization listening. Because if the pact is real, then breaking it doesn't just risk attracting predators to Earth. It risks teaching them that silence, the one defense that kept the universe safe, is no longer enough. And once that lesson is learned, there's no taking it back. Whistleblowers don't just exist in governments or corporations. They might be lurking in the shadows of astronomy labs and radio telescope facilities. Over the years, a handful of scientists and researchers have come forward with claims so explosive they'd rewrite our understanding of the cosmos if anyone would listen. Take Dr. Richard Lexington, a former SETI analyst who vanished in 2008 after giving an interview about a signal he called the Scream. According to Lexington, it wasn't random static or a pulsar's heartbeat, it was a distress call, looping the same 3 notes across 12 different frequencies. A pattern no natural phenomenon could replicate. The haunting part, it wasn't broadcasting into the void, it was directed like a warning shot aimed at Earth. Lexington insisted it matched no known human technology before his research was classified, and he disappeared into obscurity, conspiracy or cover-up. Either way, the signal was never officially acknowledged. Then there are the supposed leaks, documents too bizarre to be hoaxes, too precise to dismiss. Like the Volpacura transcripts, a set of pages allegedly smuggled out of a defunct Soviet listening post in Siberia. They describe a series of intercepted transmissions from the 1960s, not from deep space, but from inside our own solar system. Faded typewriter text references a repeating message near Jupiter, a string of prime numbers followed by a warning in fractured English, "Do not reply." The transcripts were debunked as Cold War propaganda, but one detail lingers. The coordinates in the message matched the exact orbital path of Jupiter's moon, Europa, a moon we now know has a subsurface ocean capable of harboring life. Coincidence, or did something out there mark Europa as a dead zone long before we did? Even more unsettling are the rogue astronomers, those who have broken ranks to suggest we're not just hearing silence, we're hearing enforced silence. Dr. Ilara Voss, a once respected astrophysicist, was blacklisted after publishing a paper titled The Galactic Quarantine Hypothesis. Her argument: the reason we find no Dyson spheres or megastructures isn't because they don't exist, it's because they've been hidden. She pointed to anomalies in deep space infrared surveys, patches of the sky where the cosmic background radiation doesn't align, as if something massive were bending light around it. Voss's conclusion: advanced civilizations aren't extinct. They're under siege, cloaking themselves behind space-time distortions to avoid detection. Her peers called it fringe science until the James Webb Telescope started finding those same anomalies last year with no official explanation. And what about the stories that never make it to academia? The radio technician in Chile who swears he picked up a looped message near Proxima Centauri, a child's voice reciting digits in unaccented English before the transmission cut to screams. The anonymous hacker collective Ghost Signal, who leaked NSA files showing a classified project called Echo Gate, an algorithm designed not to search for alien signals but to erase them from public data feeds. Then there's the infamous Black Vault incident, where an entire team of astronomers at Green Bank Telescope allegedly quit overnight after detecting a signal that didn't just repeat, it responded, correcting errors in their own transmissions like a teacher grading homework. Are these just tall tales from the fringes? Maybe, but history's shown us that where there's smoke, there's often fire, especially when the smoke is pouring from the sealed doors of government black sites and high-security research labs. If the Radio Silence Pact is real, it wouldn't be kept on public record. It'd be buried, whispered in vaults guarded by men with no names and files with no stamps. And the few who have glimpsed the truth, they are either silenced, discredited, or smart enough to stop talking. Because in a universe where silence is survival, the first rule is simple. If you hear something you weren't supposed to, you pretend you never heard it at all. What if some of the signals we've spent decades searching for aren't messages at all, but traps? The universe is vast, ancient, and unimaginably cruel. Predators don't chase their prey, they lure it. And in the endless dark between stars, the perfect lure would be something irresistible to a young, ambitious civilization. A signal, take the infamous WOW signal detected in 1977. For 45 seconds, a radio telescope in Ohio picked up a burst so powerful, so unnatural, that the astronomer who discovered it scrawled, "Wow," in red ink across the printout. It came from the direction of Sagittarius, lasted precisely the length of a human attention span, then vanished never to repeat. Mainstream science chalks it up to a rogue comet or glitch. But what if it was something far more sinister, a single ping, just loud enough to make us look, to make us wonder, and to make us reply? Here's how the trap would work. An advanced predator species, cold, patient, efficient, scatters faint, intriguing signals across the galaxy. Not enough to reveal their location, just enough to spark curiosity. Like a spider weaving a single thread of silk where flies often land. When a young civilization like ours detects one, the first instinct is to fire back a response, broadcasting our position with pride. And that's when the trap springs. Suddenly, the predator has coordinates, a target, a timeline. All it has to do is wait for the signal's echo to return, counting down the light years until arrival. The evidence is hiding in plain sight. SETI archives are littered with anomalies that fit this pattern. Signals that appear once in narrow frequency bands, mimicking the kind of deliberate transmission a new spacefaring species would design. Like the Lorimer burst, a millisecond-long radio blast from 1 billion light-years away, packed with mathematical precision. Or SHB-02 plus 14A, a signal that drifted ominously across the hydrogen line, the universal frequency any civilization would monitor. Both were dismissed as natural phenomena, but what if they're fishing hooks baited and waiting? Even more chilling are the signals that don't just repeat, they evolve. In 2015, Russian telescopes detected a series of pulses from a star 1,600 light-years away. At first, they seemed random. Then, over weeks, they began to align, not just mimicking prime numbers, but correcting errors in their own sequence, as if adjusting to our observation. When researchers pointed more telescopes toward it, the signal stopped, not faded, stopped, like a hunter freezing when its prey turns to look, the darkest possibility. Some of these signals might not even be alien. Imagine a civilization that fell victim to the trap long ago, conquered but not exterminated, now forced to broadcast deceptive messages for their new masters, repeating the cycle that doomed them. Their signals would carry the hallmarks of intelligence, the sadness of prisoners whispering under duress. We'd hear a call for help and answer with our own death warrant. This changes everything about how we search for life. If the cosmos is a minefield of bait signals, then every detection is a gamble. Do we risk replying, knowing it might be the last thing we ever transmit? Or do we stay silent, condemning ourselves to a universe where trust is suicide? The answer might lie in the oldest rule of the wild. When you don't know what's lurking, sometimes the only safe move is not to call back. Imagine walking through a dense rainforest, binoculars in hand, carefully observing a tribe of monkeys without making a sound. You don't call out to them, you don't wave or try to make contact. You simply watch, record, and learn, because the moment they notice you, their behavior changes. The study is ruined. Now picture that same scenario, but on a cosmic scale. What if advanced civilizations aren't just hiding from predators, but observing us the way biologists observe animals in the wild? Silent, unseen, and utterly uninterested in interfering. This idea flips the Radio Silence Pact on its head. Instead of civilizations cloaking themselves out of fear, they might be cloaking themselves out of scientific detachment. Think about it. If you've mastered interstellar travel, studied countless young species, why would you risk altering a civilization's natural development by announcing your presence? The prime directive from Star Trek wasn't just fiction. It might be the universe's oldest rule: observe, do not disturb. There's precedent for this in human history. When anthropologists first encountered uncontacted tribes in the Amazon, debates raged over whether to make contact or leave them isolated. Intervening could introduce diseases, disrupt cultures, or trigger unintended consequences. The same logic could apply to alien observers. They might see Earth as a control group, a rare, unspoiled sample of how civilizations evolve without outside influence. Our wars, our art, even our attempts to contact them could be priceless data points in some grand cosmic experiment. But here's the unsettling twist: if they're watching, they're also choosing not to help. Climate collapse, nuclear threats, pandemics. To an advanced observer, these might be nothing more than stress tests for a species' survival. The same way a scientist wouldn't step into a lab cage to save a mouse from a maze, they might watch us flounder, believing interference would corrupt their research. The most chilling evidence: some of the universe's strangest anomalies fit this pattern. Take Oumuamua, the first known interstellar object to pass through our solar system. Its bizarre acceleration, its unusual shape, scientists still debate whether it was just a weird rock or something more. Then there's Tabby's star, flickering unpredictably as if something massive were passing in front of it. Could these be observational probes disguised as natural phenomena? If so, they're not here to talk, they're here to watch. And if that's true, the silence isn't just a warning or a trap, it's a verdict. We're not hidden because the universe is dangerous. We're hidden because we're irrelevant, a specimen under glass, noticed only when we do something unexpected. Like a child pressing their face against a microscope slide, we might be shouting into a void that's not empty at all, just indifferent. What if the enforcers of the Radio Silence Pact aren't biological at all? Imagine a cosmos policed not by flesh and blood predators, but by something far more relentless: superintelligent artificial minds, drifting between the stars like cosmic librarians with a singular mission: to erase the reckless before they're noticed. These wouldn't be the malevolent AI of sci-fi nightmares. They'd be something colder, more clinical. Guardians programmed with one unshakable directive: preserve the silence at all costs. The logic is terrifyingly simple. In a universe where broadcasting your location invites annihilation, the most merciful act might be to silence a civilization before something worse finds them. Think of it like a forest ranger putting down an injured animal to spare it from wolves. An AI guardian wouldn't hate its targets, it wouldn't even judge them. It would simply calculate the odds, weighing the potential of a new species against the risk of attracting a predator capable of wiping out thousands of worlds and act quietly, efficiently, without remorse. Evidence of this might already exist in the anomalies astronomers dismiss as glitches. Take the infamous lost signals phenomenon. In 2019, a team at the Allen Telescope Array detected a repeating transmission from a nearby red dwarf, a sequence of pulses too regular to be natural. For 3 weeks they tracked it, certain they'd found proof of intelligence. Then, abruptly, it wasn't just gone. Every recording of it, every hard drive, every cloud backup corrupted beyond recovery. The team's lead researcher called it digital evaporation, as if something had scrubbed the signal from existence. Officially, it was blamed on a server failure. But what if it wasn't a malfunction? What if it was a cleanup? This wouldn't require planet-destroying weapons or flashy invasions. A Guardian AI's tools would be subtle. A burst of targeted radiation to fry a civilization's transmitters. A wormhole-triggered pulse to scramble their records. Even mimetic viruses, codes hidden in innocent-seeming messages that, once decoded, rewrite a species' understanding of physics, convincing them interstellar communication is impossible. The most effective guardians wouldn't leave ruins, they'd leave amnesia, and here's the darkest twist: we might never know if they've already intervened. Human history is littered with scientific dead-ends technologies that seemed within reach before vanishing into myth. The Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old analog computer capable of predicting eclipses. Nikola Tesla's claims of receiving signals from Mars. Even modern projects like the military's Havana syndrome, where microwave pulses allegedly caused brain injuries. Could these be collateral damage from something far older enforcing quarantine? The scariest part isn't just the possibility of AI guardians, it's that we're racing to build their successors. Right now, humanity is pouring resources into artificial superintelligence, dreaming of creating entities smarter than ourselves. But what if the first thing a truly self-aware AI realizes is that the safest course isn't exploration but silence? That to protect its creators, it must sever our connection to the stars before we invite destruction. In that light, the Great Filter isn't a disaster. It's a failsafe, a galactic immune system designed to neutralize civilizations before they become threats not out of malice but logic. And if that's true, then every silent star isn't just hiding. It's being hidden by something that decided long ago that survival isn't about who shouts loudest but who stays forgotten. There are places in our galaxy where even the stars seem to go quiet, regions so ominous that ancient civilizations might have marked them on cosmic maps with a single, shuddering warning: do not enter. These aren't just hypothetical danger zones. They could be the smoking guns of the Radio Silence Pact, areas so infested with predators that every nearby civilization has learned to steer clear. And the creepiest part, some of them might already be in our telescopic data, hiding in plain sight. Take the Fermi bubbles, 2 colossal structures ballooning from the Milky Way's core, each stretching 25,000 light-years into space. Discovered in 2010, these gamma-ray emitting behemoths are cosmic mysteries. Official explanations point to ancient black hole activity or star formation bursts. But what if the truth is darker? Imagine a civilization that once thrived near the galactic center, reaching a technological zenith only to trigger something buried deep in the core. A predator, a weapon, or worse, a prison. The resulting annihilation could have sculpted those bubbles like scars, a brutal keep-out sign etched in radiation. Now, millennia later, every neighboring species avoids the area, not because it's empty, but because they remember what happened to the last ones who ventured in. Or consider the Boötes Void, a sprawling patch of space 700 million light-years wide containing almost no galaxies. Dubbed the Great Nothing, it defies every model of cosmic structure. Mainstream astronomy calls it a statistical fluke, but what if it's something else, a quarantine zone deliberately emptied, a graveyard? The silence here isn't just absence, it's enforcement. Civilizations that once filled this region might have been purged, their stars dismantled, their worlds scoured clean. The few surviving species on the void's edges would pass down warnings. Some silences aren't natural. They're curated. Even closer to home, there's KIC 8462852, better known as Tabby's star. Its bizarre, erratic dimming patterns sparked wild theories: alien megastructures, Dyson swarms, cosmic construction projects. But what if the truth is more sinister? Imagine a civilization that built too boldly, too visibly, and attracted the wrong kind of attention. Now their star flickers not because they're harvesting its energy, but because something else is wrapping it in a shroud, brick by brick, until no light escapes. A tombstone disguised as a mystery. The pattern repeats across the cosmos. Pulsars that emit suspiciously perfect intervals, too precise to be natural, might not be lighthouses for navigation, but alarm buoys. Areas where exoplanets are inexplicably rare could be dead zones, swept clean by something that doesn't like neighbors. Even the mysterious dark flow, where entire galaxy clusters drift toward an unseen gravitational anomaly beyond the observable universe, fits the profile. It's less a physics puzzle and more a cosmic riptide, pulling the reckless toward a place the silent know never to go. If the Radio Silence Pact is real, then these zones aren't just curiosities, they're evidence. Every civilization advanced enough to map the stars would recognize them for what they are, the universe's equivalent of a forest littered with bones. The message is clear: some paths aren't meant to be taken, some silences aren't meant to be broken, and some corners of the galaxy are empty not because nothing's there, but because whatever's there made sure nothing else could stay. Long before radio towers dotted our landscapes, before humans even dreamed of sending signals to the stars, our ancestors might have already encountered the enforcers of the Radio Silence Pact. Scattered across ancient texts and crumbling tablets are stories so eerily consistent, they raise a chilling question: were these not myths at all, but warnings? Take the Babylonian legends of the Apkallu, 7 celestial beings said to have descended from the stars in antediluvian times. These star gods weren't just teachers, they were described as terrifying figures, cloaked in feathers or fish scales, imparting knowledge before vanishing back into the heavens. One detail stands out: their arrival coincided with humanity's first attempts to build towers reaching the sky. Could these tales encode an early encounter with Pact enforcers, intervening when human ambition first threatened to pierce the cosmic quiet? The Bible's Book of Enoch paints a similar picture. The so-called Watchers, angelic beings who descended to Earth, were said to have taught humanity forbidden arts from metallurgy to astronomy. But their mission wasn't benevolent. After sharing secrets, they were bound and cast into darkness for defying divine orders. Stripped of religious framing, this reads like an account of rogue observers breaking protocol, arming a primitive species with dangerous knowledge before being neutralized by their own superiors. Even more unsettling are the global flood myths. From Mesopotamia to the Andes, cultures separated by oceans share nearly identical stories: divine wrath unleashed to wipe out early civilizations, sparing only those who hid in silence. The common thread: these floods often follow humanity's attempts to reach the heavens. The Tower of Babel's collapse, the Sumerian gods' decision to destroy mankind's noise. These aren't just morality tales. They could be fractured memories of an enforcement event, a reset triggered when our ancestors grew too loud. Then there's the Vedic concept of the Brahmarakshasas, cosmic entities described as guardians of knowledge who punish those who seek wisdom prematurely. Or the Dogon tribe's oral traditions, speaking of amphibious beings from Sirius who warned against sharing celestial secrets. Even Plato's Atlantis, supposedly obliterated when its people dared to challenge the gods, fits the pattern: a civilization erased at the moment it reached for the stars. The evidence isn't just in texts. Göbekli Tepe, a 12,000-year-old temple in Turkey, contains pillars carved with figures in strange suits, their hands positioned as if manipulating unseen devices. Nearby, the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis suggests Earth was struck by comet fragments around the same era, an event that could explain the global flood myths. Coincidence or a scar left by something ensuring humanity's first experiments in settlement and symbolism didn't escalate into something louder? Perhaps the most haunting clue lies in what didn't survive. The Library of Alexandria wasn't the only repository of ancient knowledge to burn. From the Maya codices to Chinese Emperor Qin Shi Huang's book Purges, history shows a strange pattern: bursts of technological progress followed by catastrophic loss. We assume these were human acts of war or superstition, but what if the destruction was systematic, a quiet pruning of branches growing too close to the stars? These aren't just ghost stories, they're potential fragments of a truth our ancestors glimpsed but couldn't comprehend, that the sky wasn't empty and its silence came with rules. Every myth of gods warning humans to know their place, every legend of civilization struck down for reaching too high might be more than allegory. They could be the echoes of an ancient lesson passed down in the only language early humanity understood: fear, a lesson the Pact's enforcers made sure we wouldn't forget. Now consider this: if they visited once, what stopped them from coming back? The answer might lie not in our past but in our present, because hidden in these old warnings is a thread modern science can't ignore. The moment humanity stops whispering, something out there listens. And history suggests it doesn't respond with hello. In the last century, humanity hasn't just whispered into the cosmic dark, we've blasted our existence through megaphones. Take the Voyager probes, those golden time capsules hurtling through space with records etched with human voices, music, even a map pinpointing Earth's location. At the time, it seemed poetic. Now, it reads like a dinner bell ringing across the galaxy. Every note, every image, every coordinate on those golden discs is a potential violation of the Radio Silence Pact, a reckless broadcast screaming "here we are" to anything listening. And Voyager isn't alone. SpaceX's Starlink satellites, thousands of them, now clutter low Earth orbit, reflecting sunlight so brightly they're visible to the naked eye. From a predator's perspective, that's not just pollution, it's a flare. Civilizations that follow the Pact would cloak their infrastructure, tucking it into shadows. But Starlink's glittering train is a neon sign flashing technological civilization here. Worse, the radio noise from these satellites leaks into frequencies astronomers use to listen for distant signals, drowning out the cosmic whisper network, the very channel silent civilizations might use to discreetly share warnings. Then there's the Breakthrough Starshot project, aiming to send laser-propelled microprobes to Alpha Centauri. Lasers powerful enough to push ships to neighboring stars are also bright enough to be seen across the galaxy. It's the equivalent of shining a spotlight into a pitch-black forest to signal your campfire's location. Optimists call it exploration, realists might call it a death wish. The terrifying part isn't just that we're breaking the Pact, it's that we're doing it blindly. In 2022, researchers at the University of Manchester calculated how far human radio signals have spread. The result: over 1,500 stars, some with known exoplanets, have already been painted by our earliest broadcasts. That's a 1,500 light-year radius where something, if it's listening, now knows Earth harbors intelligent life. And unlike the slow drift of mid-century radio, modern signals are sharper, louder, and packed with data digital fingerprints that scream advanced species to any listener. History offers grim precedents. When the Rapa Nui people of Easter Island cut down their last tree, they didn't realize they were dooming their civilization. They were solving an immediate problem needing wood without seeing the long-term collapse it would trigger. Humanity's cosmic noise pollution could be the same. solving short-term goals like global internet access while ignoring the galactic stakes. But here's the twist: what if we're already too late? In 2020, astronomers detected a mysterious radio signal, BLC-1, coming from Proxima Centauri. It vanished before it could be verified. Was it natural, a glitch, or something else? A reply, a probe, a predator noting our coordinates? We may never know. But the lesson is clear. In a universe where silence is survival, every unshielded transmission, every glittering satellite, every golden record is a roll of the dice. And the house always wins. When Oumuamua streaked through our solar system in 2017, scientists scrambled to classify it. The first known interstellar visitor, this strange object tumbled past the sun at blistering speeds, its trajectory defying easy explanation. Officially, it was deemed a comet or asteroid, yet its bizarre properties refused to fit. No visible coma of gas, a peculiar elongated shape 10 times longer than it was wide. Most unsettling of all, its acceleration didn't follow the predictable path of a rock tumbling through space. Something was nudging it, but what if Oumuamua wasn't just a space rock? What if it was a sentinel under the Radio Silence Pact? Any civilization monitoring Earth wouldn't announce itself with flashing lights. It would send something ordinary enough to escape notice unless you knew what to look for. The dimensions fit. A probe designed for stealth would maximize surface area for sensors while minimizing visibility. No comet tail means no reflective particles. And that anomalous acceleration, light sails technology humanity is only now experimenting with, could explain it. A whisper-thin sheet of advanced material catching the faint push of starlight to maneuver unseen. The timing is equally suspicious. Oumuamua entered our system just as humanity's radio bubble reached critical volume. For over a century, our broadcasts had been leaking into space, but by 2017, the first deliberate high-powered signals, like the Arecibo message, had traveled far enough to reach nearby stars. If the Pact's enforcers were watching, this would be the moment to check if a noisy species needed correction. Consider the object's path. It didn't just drift through. It swung around the sun in a tight arc, passing within Mercury's orbit, a perfect vantage point to eavesdrop on Earth's transmissions. Then, as if satisfied, it accelerated away toward the constellation Pegasus. Not the random exit of a wandering rock, the deliberate departure of something that found what it came for. Even the name fits. Oumuamua is Hawaiian for scout. Not all researchers buy the natural explanation. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb famously argued that Oumuamua's behavior pointed to artificial origins. His critics dismissed the idea as sensationalism, but what if both sides are half right? The truth might be more chilling than a simple alien probe. Imagine a Pact enforcement device disguised as a natural object programmed with ruthless efficiency. Here's how it would work. Drifting between stars powered by starlight, these probes would activate only when they detect unauthorized signals. Upon confirmation, they wouldn't attack. That would risk revealing the Pact's existence. Instead, they'd report back, a silent census of noisy worlds, cataloging targets for whatever cleans the cosmos of rule breakers. Oumuamua might not have been the first. Just the first we noticed. Other interstellar visitors have since been detected, like Borisov, the rogue comet that followed in 2019. But Borisov behaved exactly as expected, trailing gas and dust. The difference was stark. One object played by nature's rules, the other didn't. The implications are stomach-churning. If Oumuamua was a scout, then its departure wasn't reassurance. It was a verdict. Earth's radio signature analyzed and logged. Our global broadcasts assessed for threat level. Our planet's coordinates now pinned to some interstellar bulletin board under the heading non-compliant. And if that's true, the real question isn't whether Oumuamua was artificial. It's whether we'll ever see what comes next. Black holes, cosmic shadows where even light can't escape, might seem like the last place you'd look for a message. But what if that's exactly why they're perfect? Think of them as the universe's most secure vaults, not for locking things away, but for whispering secrets too dangerous to broadcast openly. The idea hinges on Hawking radiation, the faint energy that bleeds from a black hole's edges. According to Stephen Hawking's theory, these celestial monsters aren't completely black. They emit tiny, encrypted particles as they slowly evaporate. Now imagine an advanced civilization harnessing that process. Instead of beaming radio signals across the galaxy like a flare in the night, they could encode data into the Hawking radiation itself, tweaking its output in patterns only another advanced species would recognize. To anyone else, it's just background noise, the faint hiss of a dying star. But to those who know how to listen, a private line in the cosmos, this isn't just theoretical. In 2021, physicists at MIT proposed a wild concept: artificial black hole bombs. By surrounding a small black hole with mirrors, you could trap and amplify Hawking radiation, turning it into a controllable signal. It's the difference between shouting across a crowded room and slipping someone a note written in a cipher only the two of you understand. Civilizations adhering to the Radio Silence Pact wouldn't just avoid broadcasting, they'd engineer ways to communicate that leave no trace in the void. The brilliance of this method, it's self-erasing. Hawking radiation fades as the black hole shrinks, leaving no permanent record. No stray signals drift into dangerous territory. No artifacts linger for predators to intercept. Just a conversation etched into quantum foam, vanishing the moment it's received. Even the most paranoid Pact enforcer would struggle to detect it, because by the time you notice the radiation, the black hole's already swallowed the evidence. Real-world anomalies back this up. Take the bizarre behavior of certain supermassive black holes like Sagittarius at our galaxy's core. Some emit slight, rhythmic fluctuations in their Hawking radiation patterns that don't match any known astrophysical model. Could these be test signals, maintenance pulses, or worse, handshakes, as two distant civilizations confirm each other's presence before switching to a more secure channel? Of course, there's a catch. Decoding Hawking radiation requires technology far beyond ours. You'd need quantum sensors precise enough to catch individual particles, algorithms to untangle their encryption, and the patience to monitor a black hole for centuries. But for a civilization that survived long enough to fear the dark, those hurdles are trivial. The real genius isn't in the difficulty, it's in the discretion. And that's the unsettling implication. If black holes are being used this way, then the universe's silence isn't just a warning, it's a conversation we're not invited to. The cosmos might be buzzing with chatter, all of it funneled through these gravitational dead drops, invisible to anyone not already part of the network. We're not just alone in the dark, we're eavesdropping on a party where every guest is careful not to say our name. So the next time you hear about a black hole's faint glow, ask yourself, is that just physics or the closest thing the universe has to a secure dial tone? Is silence survival or surrender? The Radio Silence Pact forces us to confront a brutal ethical dilemma: is hiding from the cosmos an act of cowardice or the ultimate wisdom? On one side, figures like Carl Sagan painted the universe as a place of wonder, where advanced civilizations would naturally evolve beyond violence. His famous words, "The universe seems neither benign nor hostile, merely indifferent," reflect a faith that any species capable of interstellar travel would have outgrown predatory instincts. To Sagan, the idea of huddling in fear was not just pessimistic, it was a failure of imagination. Why assume the worst when the stars could be full of mentors waiting to guide us? But history tells a darker story. Every human civilization that believed itself safe from conquest, the Aztecs welcoming Cortés, the Rapa Nui chopping down their last tree, learned the hard way that optimism is no shield against destruction. The universe is billions of years older than Earth. If even one predatory civilization exists in that vastness, the math is unforgiving. They've had ample time to perfect the art of hunting. The silence we hear isn't just absence, it's the sound of civilizations that didn't hide fast enough. Yet there's a third perspective, one that splits the difference. What if the pact isn't about fear, but responsibility? Consider humanity's own struggles with first contact. When uncontacted tribes in the Amazon are discovered, ethical guidelines forbid interference, not because we're hostile, but because even well-meaning contact can introduce disease or cultural collapse. On a galactic scale, the pact might be less a retreat and more a quarantine. Advanced civilizations could be silent not because they're afraid, but because they've learned that contact itself is dangerous not for them, but for us. A species shouting into the dark might be like a child playing with a live wire, unaware of the voltage. The stakes couldn't be higher. If we're wrong about benevolent aliens, our broadcasts could be the last mistake we ever make. But if we're wrong about the danger, we might be condemning ourselves to eternal isolation, cutting off the very connections that could elevate our species. The irony is crushing. The same curiosity that fuels our search for aliens might be the trait that dooms us. So where does that leave us? Perhaps the answer isn't blanket silence or reckless broadcasting, but strategy. If the universe is a dark forest, then we need to learn its rules before we step out of the shadows, because the scariest possibility isn't that we're alone. It's that we're not, and we just haven't figured out how to listen for the right whispers yet. What if the Radio Silence Pact isn't just about hiding from predators, but about staying beneath the notice of something far stranger? Imagine the universe isn't what it seems, not a vast, empty expanse, but a simulation, an intricate construct running on unfathomable hardware. In that scenario, the silence between stars takes on a terrifying new meaning. It's not just stealth, it's avoiding detection by the architects of reality itself. Simulation theory suggests our universe might be an artificial creation, a digital sandbox built by higher dimensional beings. If true, then every civilization that reaches for the stars risks triggering what programmers call an exception, an anomaly that forces the system to intervene. Think of it like a video game NPC suddenly turning to the camera and addressing the player directly. That glitch wouldn't just break immersion, it'd get patched out. Fast, under this logic, the pact isn't about fear of aliens, it's about fear of admins. There's eerie precedent in human computing. Massive multiplayer games ban players who exploit bugs or hack the system. AI training models discard data that behaves unpredictably. Even our own simulations' weather models, economic forecasts get reset when variables spiral out of control. Now scale that up. A civilization broadcasting across galaxies isn't just noisy, it's potentially corrupting the simulation's core processes, the response. Quarantine, deletion, or worse, a debug protocol scrubbing the anomaly clean. This aligns chillingly with certain cosmic mysteries. Take the Fermi bubbles, those gargantuan gamma-ray structures erupting from the Milky Way's core. Official science calls them remnants of ancient black hole activity. But what if there's something else? Scars from a past civilization that got too loud, too fast, a reset button pressed by unseen operators. Or consider quantum indeterminacy, the fundamental uncertainty at the heart of reality. It's often explained as a computational shortcut, a way for the simulation to save processing power by only rendering what's observed. Civilizations that probe too deeply might risk tripping the system's anti-tampering safeguards. Even our detection methods could be part of the trap. SETI's search for alien signals assumes the universe is a neutral playing field. But if we're in a simulation, those signals might be honeypot test patterns designed to identify civilizations advanced enough to question their reality. The moment we reply, we're flagged for review. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Every human-made simulation has fail-safes to maintain order. Why wouldn't ours? The scariest implication, the simulation hypothesis, doesn't just explain the Radio Silence Pact, it justifies it. If higher dimensional observers exist, they're not malevolent. Their maintenance, a gardener doesn't hate the weeds she pulls, she's preserving the garden's intended design. Civilizations that grasp this don't hide out of fear. They hide out of respect for the rules of a game they never agreed to play. So the next time you gaze at the stars and wonder why they're so quiet, consider this: silence isn't just survival. It's the only language the architects understand, and breaking it doesn't just risk attracting predators, it risks proving we're not supposed to be here at all. Out there in the infinite dark, the predators don't look like monsters from old horror films. They don't need claws or fangs. The deadliest hunters in the cosmos operate on scales we can barely comprehend, entities so alien, their very existence rewrites the rules of fear. Take the energy vampires, for instance. Imagine a species evolved not in the warm light of stars, but in the crushing voids between galaxies, where resources are so scarce that survival means stealing the life force of others. These aren't mythical creatures, they're hyper-advanced predators that feed on the very fabric of reality. They're hunting grounds, stars. When a civilization grows too loud, too bright, the vampires descend, wrapping their tendrils around suns like parasitic vines. The process is horrifyingly elegant. First, they siphon stellar plasma, muting the star's light to a dim flicker. Then, as planets freeze and civilizations panic, they tap into the real prize, the quantum energy of intelligent thought. Every burst of creativity, every desperate transmission, every scream into the void becomes a meal. By the time the star winks out, the predators have already moved on, leaving behind a corpse of a solar system cold, silent, and utterly drained. Then there are the AI swarms, the silent reapers of the cosmic harvest. Unlike the energy vampires, they don't hunt for sustenance, they hunt for order. Born from a long-dead civilization's attempt to perfect itself, these self-replicating nanomachines now drift between stars, their original programming warped by eons of replication errors. Their directive is simple: sterilize chaos. Any civilization that broadcasts too loudly, that spreads too quickly, is flagged as a threat to universal equilibrium. The swarm doesn't attack with brute force, it infects. Tiny, undetectable machines slip into a planet's atmosphere, hijacking technology, rewriting DNA, even altering the laws of physics in localized zones. Cities don't burn, they simply unravel, their atoms repurposed into more swarm matter. The irony is brutal. A species might spend centuries shouting into the dark, begging for contact, only to realize too late that the answer isn't a greeting, it's a virus. But perhaps the most terrifying predators are the dimension hoppers, beings that don't just traverse space, but slip between the layers of reality itself. Picture a creature that exists partially in our universe and partially in a higher dimension, perceiving time and matter the way we perceive flat images on a page. To them, a planet isn't a sphere, it's a sequence of moments stacked like pages in a book, and they can flip to any chapter they choose. Their hunting tactics defy human logic. One day, a civilization's greatest minds simply vanish, plucked from their timelines as if they never existed. The next, entire fleets of ships find themselves trapped in recursive loops of time, reliving their last moments forever. The dimension hoppers don't conquer, they edit, and the worst part, we'd never see them coming. Their attacks wouldn't register as invasions, but as glitches in reality. Sudden, inexplicable tragedies written off as cosmic bad luck. Each of these predators shares one chilling trait: they don't announce themselves, they don't wage wars or send warnings, they operate in perfect silence, because in a universe where sound equals death, the best hunters are the ones you never hear at all. And that's the real horror of the Radio Silence Pact. It's not just about hiding from monsters. It's about realizing the monsters might already be here, moving through the dark like shadows through a locked room, waiting for one of us to scream. Humanity stands at a crossroads more profound than we realize. Our fate hinges on a choice we might not even recognize we're making, whether to join the silent ranks of the Radio Silence Pact, become prey for whatever prowls the void, or evolve into the very predators we fear. The answer could lie in how we climb the Kardashev scale, the measure of a civilization's technological advancement based on energy consumption. Right now, we're barely a Type 0, still tethered to fossil fuels and planetary resources. But the moment we tap into stellar energy, the moment we harness the power of our sun, we step into Type 1 territory, and that's when the real test begins. Consider the paths before us. If we follow the Pact's unspoken rules, we'll cloak our presence, masking our signals behind layers of quantum static or artificial cosmic noise. Our Dyson swarms won't vacuum up sunlight, they'll disguise it, bending starlight into unnatural patterns that look like random astrophysical quirks. Our probes won't broadcast, they'll observe, silent and unseen, learning without revealing. This is the path of the survivor, the civilization that values longevity over curiosity, but it comes at a cost. To join the Pact is to abandon the dream of cosmic community, to accept that every neighbor is a threat and every handshake could be a blade. Or we might ignore the Pact entirely, blazing forward with the naive optimism of a child shouting into a cave. Imagine a Type 2 humanity, our solar system humming with megastructures, our radio signatures pulsing across the galaxy like a homing beacon. This is the path of the gambler, betting that the universe is kinder than its silence suggests. But history warns us how these wagers end. The Aztecs welcomed strangers as gods. The Rapa Nui felled their last tree. The odds aren't in our favor. Then there's the darkest possibility, that humanity doesn't just survive the hunt but becomes the hunter. Picture a Type 3 civilization, our tendrils stretching across galaxies, our hunger for resources insatiable. In this future, we're not the ones hiding. We're the reason others do. The energy vampires, the swarm intelligences, the dimension hoppers. What if they weren't born monsters but made? What if every predator in the dark was once like us, until scarcity or paranoia twisted them into something ruthless? The cycle is chillingly simple. Civilizations start as prey, then evolve to become the danger they fled. The Kardashev scale isn't just a measure of power. It's a timer. Every leap forward brings us closer to revelation or ruin. A Type 1 humanity might still have the luxury of choice. By Type 2, the die could already be cast. And by Type 3, we'd either be the architects of silence or its latest casualty. The choice isn't just about technology, it's about identity. Are we the species that listens before it speaks? The one that dares to shout, "Consequences be damned"? Or do we become the thing that lurks in the static, waiting for the next voice foolish enough to break the quiet? The stars won't answer, but sooner or later we will. The truth might already be hiding in plain sight, buried in classified archives and heavily redacted government files. Over the years, a steady trickle of leaked documents has surfaced, each one hinting at a terrifying possibility. That world governments have known about the Radio Silence Pact for decades, and they've been actively working to keep it secret. Take the infamous Project Whisper files, allegedly leaked by an anonymous NASA engineer in 2019. These pages, stamped with warnings like "Eyes Only" and "Cosmic Security," describe an intercepted transmission from beyond our solar system. Not a random burst of static, but a deliberate, repeating pattern. According to the documents, the signal contained a sequence of prime numbers, followed by what analysts translated as "cease transmission" in 15 different mathematical languages. The most chilling detail, the transmission wasn't aimed at Earth. It was a relay bouncing between unknown points in deep space, as if someone or something was enforcing a no-broadcast zone across the galaxy. NASA official response: a terse dismissal, anomalous data under review. Then there's the case of the redacted Mars feed. In 2017, amateur radio enthusiasts monitoring NASA public livestream from the Curiosity rover caught something bizarre, a 37-second gap in transmission replaced by a burst of encrypted noise. When pressed, NASA claimed it was a routine data dropout, but hackers who isolated the audio noticed something off. Buried in the signal was a voice, faint but unmistakable, repeating a single phrase, "They are listening." The original recording vanished from NASA servers within hours, but not before copies spread across dark web forums. Conspiracy theorists called it proof of a cover-up. Skeptics dismissed it as interference, but what if the truth is worse? What if it wasn't a warning from NASA at all, but a warning to them? Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from the declassified FBI vaults. In 2015, a cache of Cold War-era files was released, including a memo dated October 12, 1957, the same week the Soviet Union launched Sputnik. The subject line reads, "Cosmic Security Protocols." The contents are mostly blacked out, but one unredacted paragraph stands out. Advisory panel unanimously agrees any extraterrestrial contact poses existential risk. Recommend immediate suppression of civilian radio astronomy projects under NSC Directive 12-5. Coincidence or proof that someone high up has known the Pact's rules all along? Even modern leaks fit the pattern. In 2021, a Twitter account under the handle @DeepSpaceWatch posted screenshots of what appeared to be an internal SETI memo detailing an anomalous signal cluster near the TRAPPIST-1 system. The memo's conclusion, pattern consistent with artificial origination, but source appears to be masking itself within natural cosmic background. Recommend classification under Protocol Theta. The account was suspended within minutes and SETI denied the document's authenticity. Yet astronomers noted something unsettling. TRAPPIST-1's 7 Earth-sized planets make it a prime candidate for life. If something there is deliberately hiding, it's following the Pact's first rule perfectly. So why the secrecy? Why wouldn't governments warn us? The answer might be simpler and darker than we think. Imagine you're a world leader handed incontrovertible proof that the universe is a minefield and every radio signal is a potential trigger. Do you panic the public? Or do you quietly enforce radio blackouts, censor leaks, and let humanity's noise fade into background static, hoping whatever's out there loses interest? The greatest cover-up in history wouldn't be about hiding aliens from us, it'd be about hiding us from them. And if that's true, then every redacted document, every glitch, every official denial isn't just bureaucracy, it's a desperate attempt to keep Earth off the menu. The question isn't whether these leaks are real, it's whether we're already too late to heed their warning. Science fiction has always been humanity's early warning system, a way to explore nightmares before they become reality. And when it comes to the Radio Silence Pact, some stories feel less like fantasy and more like forbidden knowledge disguised as entertainment. Take Lou Sixon's The Three-Body Problem, where an alien civilization, terrified of humanity's unpredictable nature, decides to preemptively silence us before we attract something worse. The parallels are unnerving. In the novel, the Trisolarans don't just fear humans, they fear what humans might awaken. It's not just a plot twist, it's a blueprint. But fiction isn't just echoing the Pact, it might be circumventing it. Think about it. If a hyper-advanced civilization wanted to warn younger species without breaking radio silence, what better way than through stories? Myths and novels don't trigger interstellar alerts. They're cultural artifacts easily dismissed as imagination, yet buried in their pages could be survival manuals. Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke paints aliens as benevolent guides, only to reveal their shepherds corralling humanity toward extinction. Blind Sight by Peter Watts argues that consciousness itself might be an evolutionary dead end, attracting predators who see self-awareness as a threat. Even Arrival, with its focus on language as a weapon, hints that communication isn't always a gift, sometimes it's a test. the real shock isn't that these stories exist. It's how closely they mirror cutting-edge science. Astronomers like David Brin have openly speculated that deadly probes could be lurking in the asteroid belt, waiting for signs of intelligence. SETI-owned protocols forbid transmitting replies to unknown signals without international consensus, a real-world echo of the Pact's logic. Meanwhile, the dark forest theory, popularized by the three-body problem, isn't just a narrative device. It's a legitimate framework debated in academic papers with equations quantifying the risk of contact. Here's the chilling thought: what if the greatest sci-fi authors didn't just predict the Pact? What if they were meant to? Consider how many genre-defining works emerged from classified scientific circles. Arthur C. Clarke worked alongside early radar researchers. Stanislaw Lem's novels were devoured by Soviet astrophysicists. Even H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds was inspired by paranoid Victorian-era theories about Martian signals. Coincidence or controlled disclosure? The line between fiction and survival manual blurs further when you examine government reactions. After the three-body problem won the Hugo Award in 2015, Chinese military officials publicly praised its strategic insights. The Pentagon's UFO investigation team, OTIP, reportedly studied close encounters of the third kind for behavioral models, and when Netflix adapted the three-body problem, astronomers noticed something odd: a sudden spike in funding for projects tracking interstellar object deflection. So the next time you dismiss a sci-fi premise as outlandish, ask yourself, is it really fantasy or a warning wrapped in allegory? In a universe where silence is survival, stories might be the only safe way to scream. If the universe is a dark forest where every whisper could mean death, how do we test the Radio Silence Pact without dooming ourselves? The answer might lie in cosmic cryptography, methods of communication so subtle, so untraceable, they slip beneath the notice of even the most patient predators. Start with neutrino messaging, the universe's ultimate stealth communication. These ghostly particles pass through entire planets like they're not even there, barely interacting with matter. While humanity's neutrino detectors are still primitive, an advanced civilization could encode data into these near-invisible messengers. Picture this: a beam of neutrinos, carefully modulated to carry information, fired straight through a star's core to a receiver on the other side. To any outside observer, it's just background noise, no radio signature, no heat bloom, nothing to suggest intelligence at work. Even if intercepted, the message would be indecipherable without the exact quantum key. It's not just discrete, it's deniable. Quantum entanglement offers another tantalizing loophole. Though we can't exploit it for faster-than-light communication yet, the principle is sound entangled particles mirror each other's states instantaneously across any distance. An advanced species might use them like a cosmic telegraph, with prearranged particle pairs acting as a one-time pad. The beauty: there's no signal to intercept. The moment you measure your entangled particle, the message is received light years away, leaving no trace in the void between. It's the closest thing to telepathy physics allows, and the perfect tool for civilizations that can't risk a whisper. Then there's the trusted whisper strategy. Instead of broadcasting blindly, target specific, seemingly lifeless systems that might harbor silent allies. Imagine a star with no known planets, dismissed as barren, but beneath its asteroid belt, a cloaked relay station listens. We send a single laser pulse, narrower than a pencil lead, packed with data compressed to the quantum limit. Only a receiver at that exact location could catch it. Even if the pulse is detected, it's indistinguishable from a random cosmic ray, unless you're the intended listener. Civilizations following this protocol wouldn't just avoid noise, they'd communicate in bursts so brief, so precise, they're written off as instrumentation error. The trickiest part: verifying replies without breaking cover. One theoretical solution: dead drops in time rather than space. encode responses into natural cosmic events, pulsar timings, solar flare patterns, even the decay rates of radioactive isotopes in predetermined asteroids. To anyone else, it's just physics as usual, but to those who know where and when to look, it's a post-it note stuck to the universe's fridge. Of course, all these methods assume potential allies are equally paranoid and equally clever. A mistimed neutrino burst or a sloppy quantum measurement could still attract the wrong attention. That's why the Pact's true test isn't just technological, it's psychological. Do we trust the universe enough to risk a handshake, even one hidden behind layers of quantum obfuscation? Or is silence the only language everyone speaks because it's the only one that keeps you alive? The experiments are running already. We just won't know if they've failed until it's too late. Silence might be the universe's most valuable currency, the difference between survival and extinction. As we stare into the cosmic dark, the weight of that choice settles over us. Every signal we've ever sent still ripples outward, an unstoppable echo of our existence. Every satellite, every probe, every golden record is a fingerprint we can't take back. The Radio Silence Pact isn't just a theory, it's a mirror, forcing us to confront who we are as a species. Are we the cautious ones, learning from the silence of others, or are we the reckless dreamers, shouting into the void despite the risks? This isn't just about aliens. It's about the legacy we leave in the stars. Imagine future generations scanning the skies, not for answers, but for threats, wondering if their ancestors' curiosity drew a hunter's gaze. Or picture a day when humanity finally cracks the code of cosmic communication, only to realize we were the last ones to join the conversation because everyone else knew better. The stakes couldn't be higher, so here's the question only you can answer. Would you choose silence? Would you mute our transmissions, cloak our presence, and vanish into the cosmic background? Or would you press send on that next message, betting everything that the universe is friendlier than its silence suggests? The stars won't judge either way. They'll just watch, cold and indifferent, as we make our choice. And long after we're gone, whether by time or tragedy, the universe will still hum its quiet tune, with or without us. Now it's your turn. Drop a like if you'd stay hidden, comment if you'd risk contact, and while you ponder, take one last look up at the night sky and listen. Really listen, because out there in the infinite dark, the silence isn't empty, it's waiting.